Alrighty folks, happy Sunday from the shop, and apologies for no updates for the last 10 days or so, but I've been traveling for work and now I'm back. And as you can see, I'm back. There's a mess everywhere, but this is an organized mess. I don't know if that's a contradiction in terms, but I'm assuming it's not. So quick updates as follows. This one, which looked almost complete, was in fact almost completely wrong. It had the front end from a C model, when it should have had an F model, which has those forks with the little valves on top, and it has the double disc up front, which is drilled and has this beautiful pattern on it. So that is the correct wheel, that's the correct hub, correct everything. Those are the correct forks, correct handlebars. Yes, it was the 80s, so just deal with that. So once that's all together, we've actually found the correct front master cylinder, correct set of brakes in the used back at a bit, the instrument cluster, there's a light refurb, the original headlight bucket, the headlight which we're going to do a quick refurb on, and the wiring harness is also incorrect as well. So luckily I had this one, it's like Blue Peter, here's one I prepared earlier. They have a special type of ignition on this, so the later models have this sort of bolt-in style ignition, whereas the old ones have a plastic thing up in the instrument cluster. It looks quite different. So luckily it had the correct wiring harness for this, so basically I've got it stripped all the way back to there. We'll pull this all off tomorrow, and then I'm going to be in Melbourne from Tuesday to Friday, so unfortunately no videos until next weekend, but this one should come together pretty quickly. And interestingly, as I mentioned in a previous video, this is a drum rear with mag wheels and a double disc front, which is those lovely wheels up there. That's the correct spec for an F1, F2 and F3, and luckily we have an F1 and an F2. So there you go, that's one update. Second update, why do I have the frame upside down on this beast right here? Well, interesting story. We were disassembling this to put the correct frame in it. This is a 1977 B1, as you can see if you read upside down. The typical practice is when decommissioning a bike for refurbishment, we normally take out all the innards to leave us with just a frame with the side stand, center stand, and internals that are difficult to fit once everything's in place on the bike. Unfortunately, in this case, that includes removing the swing arm. Now, why is that unfortunate? Well, you have to take the chain off. This is a riveted chain. Yes, I can grind the rivets off, but that chain is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, so I don't want to grind that apart. So the alternative is usually very, very simple. Undo one bolt here, and with a mallet and a piece of wood, just drive that bolt through. Well, we tried to do that. There's a double bearing there and a double bearing there. Seemed to be fine. There was no dust cap on either side there, which is always a warning sign. Went to drive it out, couldn't get the thing out. Long story short, let's roll over here, and you'll see what we had to resort to get it out. So that is the shaft. There is the head of the bolt, which would ordinarily attach like that. If I had to cut that off, cut this off, which is the shaft of the bolt. The bolt, you can see, it's probably not very, very clear on camera, but you see this end, this appears to have been bent in an accident. So if I roll this, it will kind of lump instead of rolling smoothly. And then this end was almost certainly bent. So it actually took 1, 2, 3 cuts to get that out. So thankfully, it finally came out. We have another couple of these, which is fine, no problem there. We'll replace that. So good thing we pulled it apart, because that would have just bound up, and that's obviously why the previous owner didn't put the covers in that fit either side here to go between the end of this shaft and the frame, because it was bent, and if he'd done that, it would have locked the whole thing up. So there's that. So bit of a surprise on that one, to be fair. So with that apart, the plan is we have a B1 spec engine, which is this chap over here, I believe. Yep, that's our B1 spec engine. It's a complete engine, so that's what you might refer to in car world as a short block. We have the head over there on the bench. So basically the plan is we'll disassemble this, we'll check all the tolerances and all the play. Also good that we're pulling it apart because you can see here this case is cracked. So some nastiness has happened at some point. And we've lost a bolt hole here. So there's obviously been some impact on the left-hand side, hence pulling it all apart. Anyway, we'll do that. We'll pull that all apart, check all the tolerances, plastic gauge everything, give it a good clean. It's not going to get vapor blasted, but then that whole lump goes back in that frame as is, and we put the correct wiring harness in, correct handlebar controls, original chain, correct swing arm, so on and so forth. They're a really nice bike. They have the spokes like that, so spoked front, spoked rear. This is also that same model, so same process with this one as well. So the intention is to send them out in with the engines tested. They're running bikes, but leave the refurbishment, you know, things like brakes and all that sort of stuff, to the new owner. So they're going to get a complete rolling bike. You know, it has all the right bits on it, the right instruments, frame, the correct wheels, correct brakes, everything else, but it won't be a drive away and have fun with it. It'll be a project, unless somebody wants me to, you know, build them for them. So that's another 77B1 right there, and that's one right there. So that's the plan. We've got two 77B1s, loads of parts for them, so no problems. The ebony model here is a 1982 F3. So this particular project will be a complete ground up restoration, and very, very luckily we found all the original black bits, and I do mean all. That whole engine, everything was originally black, as you can see from the factory. That is what's going to be going into that bike. Don't know if it's a matching numbers, frame and engine, doesn't matter. The customer's very keen on it being all matte black, so we will oblige. And the great thing is we've got loads of sets of instruments over there, so we'll do a 0K rebuild. It'll be a brand spanking new engine, so this will be really fun. And speaking of engines, let me just give you a quick update on the first of our in-house builds here. As you can see, Mark's made some tremendous progress. So the lower half of the engine is together. That's the gearbox. We have an oil pump here. That's the pickup and scavenger that goes in here. Primary chain is absolutely perfect. Pistons are all tested. Everything's been plastic gauged. Everything nips up. Pistons and rods are absolutely gorgeous. This is a very, very low K engine. I couldn't tell you how many Ks, but it's not a lot because there's almost no wear on it. So we've got the matched set of pistons on the top, so they'll get weighed. This is the top half for it. That's the cylinder head. There's a few bits and pieces that we're looking for in there, some rubbers and stuff like that. Valve keepers, standoffs for these spacers for the cam chain tensioner and top roller, and then all of the valve guides and keepers. We need a few more gudgeon pins as well. It's really nice. We have several complete engines. That's part of one down there. There's two engines underneath there. These will all go together very, very quickly. The first one takes a little bit longer. We're just taking our time, but all the parts appear to be here. So it's a really good result. Very happy with that. They're nice, easy engines to work on, although if you don't work on engines, this might look somewhat challenging, but it's really not. They're very, very simple, really excellent design. Kawasaki knew exactly what they were doing back in the day, and these have stood the test of time. So if you're looking for a bike, we're going to have 7 Z650s for sale, ranging from 1977 over there all the way up to 1982. Quick update in the back, just while we're going through things here. Z1000 wiring harness and handlebar control showed up. We found out why this thing has been fighting us the whole step of the way. The main wiring harness has an intermittent short. We thought we'd addressed all of that. It's a short that's back up in the harness here, and only happens when you wiggle like this, and it's just been a nightmare to troubleshoot. So we're going to go, unfortunately, have to replace the handlebar controls up here, which are OE, with aftermarket ones and an aftermarket main harness. But that way we know the customer's going to be riding a bike that's super reliable, everything's been done properly, etc., etc. So a bit disappointing on the one hand, but on the other hand, from the customer's perspective, very, very good indeed. Update in the back. So various exhaust systems, unfortunately that's not going to fit our Z650 project over here, which is for the same customer as that lovely green bike over there. But this one has a nice 4-into-1 stainless system that will go on it. This one's going to come together very, very quickly. Another couple of weeks that should be done, which is really good news. And then we've got this engine over here, which we compression tested. That's an 81 F2, so that's to go in one of the F1 frames up there. This is a complete engine with compression. Somebody rattle canned it. You can see they just sprayed everything black, including the spark plugs and the engine bolts. So a bucket of acetone over the top and a scrubbing brush. We think that's going to be right to go straight into an engine. So very exciting. So all of this going on. We've got the Z1100 project. That's going to be next cab off the rank behind getting the 650 and the 1000 out the door, plus the Honda. I'll have an update on the Honda next weekend. And once all that's done, we'll have a lot less parts here for one thing, and a lot less parts here. But then we're on to the GPZ 1100. So this is complete-ish, almost all there. It works. I put a battery on it the other day out of idle curiosity. It needs some R&R. It's sat outside for years, but we're going to get it running first and then ride it. Get some love on it. These bikes are rapidly appreciating classics, and it's criminal to let them just sit there doing nothing. So came with an extra starter motor, extra set of front calipers. I think actually it's going to come to life pretty quickly, and these back in the day, these were absolutely a weapon, so can't wait to get my leg over that and take it for a scoot down the street. There's our box of instruments. And then lots and lots and lots more stuff. So more engine pieces in there, cams, clutch packs, generators, exciter coils. Yes, we have excitement. There it is right there. Anyway, that's a very brief and long overdue update. My apologies. We've got a ton of stuff going on, so apologies for the intermittent nature of the videos. I will try to be on camera and give you more updates very, very soon. Anyway, until the next one, which will probably be next weekend, hope you're all doing fantastically well. I'll see you next weekend. Cheers.